listen, children, to my mind. I am a victim. Hustlers cry. Yeah.
Hey, I got a quick statement about the last line of that song.
Okay.
It's funny how things come up that just all, marry together.
Marry together.
Did you know that most people who are either psychotic, no, psychopaths or sociopaths, excuse me, not psychotic.
Right.
Sociopaths or psychopaths, they know that they're that.
Oh, yeah.
They're aware of it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, they're... Because of what happened to me as a child, right? I had the odds are stacked against me to go down the path of total and utter fucking chaos, right? Because it's when you get fucked with, it's either that 9 times out of 10 those children who are fucked with end up being the ones that go around and fuck with other children as they're older. Never crossed my mind, but that's one of those things that statistically, what happens to you as a child, then you revert and you become the predator as an adult, which never happened to me, thank God, which it just never even occurred to me, but because it was such a trauma experience.
Sure.
And the violence that I was dealt from the evil monster that I lived with, and that hate and that constant, mental and physical and abusive, just everything, like what I saw growing up when her third husband was fucking beating the shit out of her. Like I watched it, I saw it all. So I was a total product of that environment where, again, and that's kind of what my fascination probably has become with mass murders and serial killers and shit like that. Not for the chaos and the harm they do, but just the draw to that, and why did they break, and how did they break, and if you look at the history of that and what they've all uncovered over the decades of researching and talking to those individuals once they're incarcerated, it all comes out to the same thing. They were all grown up in abusive relationships, had abusive parents or neglectful parents, or were left alone way too much. I was left alone all the time because of my illness and stuff as a kid, kind of like you were. And then the abuse and all that kind of shit, and how everybody turned a blind eye. Oh, you're lying, you're making it up, and so it's part of the reason why I turned into an alcoholic, I'm sure, because deep down inside I was burying that shit. But that's one of the things that people don't realize when you're fucked with this. Those who are predators as adults, and this is no way an excuse, because I think all predators as adults that fuck with children should be hung up from their wrist, and then you slowly just cut off an appendage, one toe at a time, bleed a while, and pass out, slap them back awake.
We're in agreement there, for sure. Absolutely,
torture the hell out of them.
I think everybody listening's with us there.
Yeah, but I agree with you. So you know who you are, and typically why you're the way you are. So, but it's that fine line that some people don't go down that dark path and others do. And then when they do, I agree with you. They know full well, because you have to be cognitive and super intelligent, because most serial killers and mass murderers are fucking on a level of IQ that's higher than most.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they carry, like Dahmer.
You don't get away with it that long by being stupid. Most people who commit murder get convicted the first time, right? Because they leave something behind or whatever. Yeah, you have to be super high level IQ to have pulled off whatever your specialty is.
Right.
Each one of them had their own MO, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the successful ones. I mean, there's ones that have never been cut. Like let's talk about Unabomber, right? Unabomber went on for decades, man. Decades without being caught, until he started leaving a little too much, right, in his manifesto and his writings and shit, because he figured after so long nobody's gonna even catch wind of who I am.
Do you know that the Unabomber was part of the LSD experiments?
I think I knew that. Yeah.
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 I heard that on another podcast too. That's why I brought that up. Is there was a doctor who had nothing to do with anything to do with serial killers or anything, but his wife, that was her specialty. She was like a sociologist or a psychiatrist or something like that, but she worked with the crazy people in that wing of the hospital, right?
Right on.
People who have gone too far. And she dealt with them with laughter because of what you just brought up. Their intelligence level is so high that they know that they're crazy. Right. And the only way to deal with it is to let them know that you have no fear of them and that they're being silly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I found that kind of fascinating that they know, even though they're that far gone and they're a lot of them are medicated even, they know they're crazy.
Yeah.
They just they have not the capability to use the same rationale for morals and values and feelings and
empathy. They don't have empathy. A lot of them are just
zero.
Have no empathy.
Yes.
Right. That's why people like Richard Kuklinski was so successful as a hired gun for the mafia back in the day and had such a long distinguished career for someone in that field. There was no empathy at all. And he just didn't give a fuck. Like he just, I got to kill that guy. Okay. What's the best way to kill a guy? I just watched True Romance again for the first time in years. Remember True Romance?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking great movie.
Absolutely.
James Gandolfini in that fucking thing was just amazing. Everybody, I mean, Quentin Tarantino movies in their own, in my opinion, they're so quick. Like they may be 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but they're so quick because he's always something's going on. Like his directing and his writing, fantastic, and his characters in and out. So when Gandolfini shows up to Alabama, the hotel where Alabama Worley's staying, and gets in that fucking massive fight with her, there's a scene where he talks about where she's like recovering and bleeding out and shit, and he's sitting there playing with his lighter, those the old school lighters, not the Bics, but the ones that you click open and what I'm talking about.
Zippo.
Zippo.
Yes.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Zippo. Get a light on.
Had one back in the band days for sure.
Right? So he's talking in that scene about killing and how the first one, that was the bitch of the bunch. Like that was the hardest one. Like I couldn't sleep. It haunted me. The second one, it kind of tapers off a bit. Third one, you kind of get used to it. By the fourth and fifth time, it's just like drinking a glass of milk. So I think that lack of empathy is a huge part of that. And then
it has to be.
And then the consistency of doing what you do in the craft and what you're doing it. And then
you can't look at that person as a human being at that point, right?
No, absolutely
it has to be. And if you're going to be a normal, quote unquote, where you could survive in society, like you're a hitman for black ops, military operation or whatever, and you got to go back to society.
Right.
The only way you can do it is to say, I'm at work and I'm not at work,
Absolutely.
Because you still can't look at that person as a human being or you won't be able to do that job.
Agreed. I think
on either side. If you're doing it for evil or, unfortunately, that's a necessity for good too,
Yeah. I think it's a little different from a military standpoint. And the only reason why I say that is I went to high school with someone, love him to death, biggest fuck off in high school. Like senior trip, Rosarita Beach, motherfucker was in boxers riding a horse down the beach. Like, that's just who this individual is, right? You never would have thought he would have joined the military, let alone become a certified sniper, let alone had, I think it was 17 confirmed kills in Desert Storm. And he's not fucked up that I can tell. He had some struggles when he got out. A lot of issues with alcohol and shit, did some time in prison and stuff. But I think with the military, it's a job, kind of like what you said. It's this is my job. This is what I've been paid to do. This is what I'm going to do. These people, if I don't kill them, they're going to kill me type thing.
That's what I'm saying. If you and I was if we were forced to do that job versus somebody that is wired that way, right?
Yeah.
The people that you just brought up, Ted Bundy, Dahmer, there was something wrong with their brain, right? Their wiring was jacked up. There's no way that you were going to fix somebody like that.
No. And it was, and again, it all goes back to the product of the upbringing and shit like that. I mean, the Bundy, I didn't bring up Bundy. I did Kaczynski and the Iceman and Dahmer. Richard Kuklinski's the Iceman.
Yes. There you go.
Bundy had a fucking insane IQ. Like, I just didn't, like, you and I both, I think we've watched all the shit that you could watch with those individuals before that's all relevant again. They keep showing shit like the lost tapes. Don't watch the lost tapes, boys and girls, on Netflix. The lost tapes are stupid because it's redundant. Go on the Google machine and go back to the stuff that was done years ago, because when it was done years ago, it was specifically on that individual. Like Charles Manson, for an example, right? They have the Manson tapes. Well, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but my biggest issue with Charles Manson is he was convicted of multiple murders. The motherfucker never killed anybody. That was proven. I mean, he may have killed people before the Helter Skelter shit, but he was.
No, he never killed anyone during that time. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah, he was tried.
I didn't know that till way later on. Started reading all the books that came out, and like you watching the documentaries, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He just convinced other people that it was a good idea because he was the prophet or whatever,
Right, but so and I'm not defending Charles Manson by any way, shape, and form, but there's a big but there. He wasn't even fucking there, man. How can he get convicted for murder if he wasn't even there? Like, I get he was the mastermind, he put the thoughts in their head, but he wasn't fucking there.
Did they convict him of murder, or did they convict him of...
No, it was murder. Let's go to Google machine.
Okay, you're probably right. I mean, you don't end up in prison for life without being convicted of murder, usually.
Right. Let's see what is Charles Manson conviction.
I said usually. There's people that are in there for life for dumber reasons than that.
Yeah, in 1971, Manson was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people.
That's
now, the conspiracy,
what I was trying to think of.
The conspiracy to commit murder, I agree with. But he did not kill anybody. He did not, of those 7 people that were killed by the quote-unquote Manson family, yes, he was the leader, but he did not kill any of them.
All right, let me play devil's advocate, all right?
Okay.
Would those people, and I'm sure that's how they argued this, would they have committed those murders without being influenced by him?
Absolutely not. But again, that's the conspiracy to commit murder, which I agree with. Absolutely, 100% agree with his conspiracy. He masterminded. Go ahead.
In my mind, now that I think it through, that gets you to murder, because these people were just going about their lives. There was no way that they were ever going to do anything remotely in that direction.
Nope.
Until they ran into this guy.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden they're out slashing people up in their homes.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think that's how they got to the...
But I get the conspiracy, but I don't know, and I don't know the legal definition of first degree murder. First degree murder is premeditated, right? Like I'm gonna fly to Pontiac, Michigan, and kill you. I just said that's premeditated. I'm not gonna do that. But if I did, it's premeditated. Like I knew full well what I was gonna do. That's
right.
First degree
murder.
I
think what they're saying is that he used them as the instrument, just as he had the gun in his hand, right?
The instrument of death.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll agree with you there. I never looked at it that way. I always just thought that
I didn't either. I just made that up as I was going along.
I think that's a good makeup, Mike. That's why we're here today on the Chris and Mike Show episode. And you're going to enjoy our show because
I was on your side in the beginning, and then I went, wait a minute.
But that's cool. That's cool. That's why I'm not the bad guy, and it's fucking Friday. So hey, check this out. This will be fun because we were here Tuesday, which was election day, right? But we weren't privy to what was going to happen. I actually watched the whole thing, which is surprising because I didn't want to, and then Nikki wanted to, and then all of a sudden she went to bed, and I fucking watched it all.
I saw a little bit, and then I turned it off, and I saw a little bit more, and then I had to go to bed, so I didn't see it till the morning. But yeah.
So here's something very interesting. Okay, this is one of those things that's going to make you go, Remember that? Things that make you go,
I do.
The Al Smith Dinner, okay, which is an annual dinner that is amid executives, journalists, and current and former political allies and adversaries, okay? The 79th Al Smith Dinner on October 17th is to highlight Vice President Kamala Harris's deeply disrespectful decision to skip this event in a dress filled with personal attacks and barbs, okay? I mean, that's a little thing about Trump. But the deal is, this dinner, no potential president has ever missed this dinner except Kamala Harris and Walter Monroe.
Walter Monroe?
What do they have in common? Neither one of them won the election.
There you have it.
Neither one of them. She turned a blind eye to something that it happens every single fucking election. Like, you get invited to this thing.
I mean, he's got one of those in his back pocket too.
Who does?
He's the first one since it started to not concede.
Oh, well, that's
so
true.
we can go there too.
Yeah,
but he still won, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you win.
right.
It's kind of like saying my team only won by 1 point. I still won.
Right. It's a thing that Nikki brought up here Wednesday. She's like, "Oh, check this out." I'm like, "No shit," but it's a trip that only 2 presidents that never won.
Didn't go to that dinner.
Right.
That is
right.
I like statistics like that.
Yeah, because I mean, technically, not going to open up the can of worms for 2020, but technically, remember those 700,000 votes that just showed up overnight in Pennsylvania? Remember that? Nikki reminded me of that. So did he really lose Pennsylvania in 2020? We're not going to go there. I'm just saying, though, it's one of those things, and I was happy this time that there wasn't the conspiracy. What blew my mind, because when I was watching it, they said that the Democrats would have had to have a record day of voting to beat Trump. And Trump had a record day of voting.
Yes.
Unlike ever before. And he actually won the Latino vote or Mexican vote, whatever you want to say. I don't know what's the proper, what is it? I don't know fucking what's
actually
the word?
It's both. There's Latinos and Mexicans and Puerto Ricans
Yeah.
and
Yeah, politically correct. I don't know what's politically correct, but he won that vote, which was surprising. The other thing that was surprising from the Harris standpoint that I learned that night was that she did not get the African American, black, whatever you want to call it. Again, I don't know the politically correct term. I just look at you as a human. So the tanner people of us, she did not get that vote. They said there was too much of a gap. Of an age gap, so the 20 to 50-year-old black man, they didn't vote for her.
That demographic doesn't vote at all.
Oh, no shit.
I don't look it up.
Okay.
That's a good. I'd like to know that statistic. How many 20 to
50-year-old?
No, don't go that far. Let's say 20 to 35. I think it's going to be a pretty bad showing because unless
let's see.
Unless they can do it electronically, and by electronically I mean not have to go somewhere. Right. They're not going to do it.
It's just a weird thing. It's like key facts about black eligible voters in 2024. I don't think that is relevant.
They probably don't have those demographics yet.
NPR.
I would be shocked if that age group showed up in droves. And I'm just saying, even 20 to 30 would be a very small margin. 18, I guess you got to go 18 to whatever, 18 to 34.
Yeah, NPR had a headline for their article saying young black voters are becoming more conservative than they thought because they're feeling disconnected from politics and unable to identify with a political party, which I get. The other thing that I didn't think about it, but during watching the coverage, there was no primary election for Harris.
No,
it was Biden's stepping down, and you're going to force Harris.
She was
down.
Appointed,
right? So that I think played a part in it too, because you
played
don't
a
have,
huge part,
right? Because you don't have somebody that the country could stand behind. And the other thing that I learned while watching it, and we watched. I didn't watch I watched MSNBC one, so I didn't watch the Fox. I didn't watch the CNN, so I wasn't watching, heavy on.
Oh, you got to get yourself like at least 5 minutes of the either side because it's just hilarious.
Well, but I didn't want to because I wanted bipartisan.
I use it as comedy, dude. You got to think. You just got to twist how you're using it.
Well, yeah,
it makes me chuckle to see when I turn on Fox News and everybody's smiling and I can see their teeth.
Yeah.
And then I turn on CNN and they look like somebody just kicked their dog.
Okay. So CNN was for Democrats and
of course.
Okay.
And Fox News is 100%. They're 1,000,000% Trump.
Okay. Yeah. I stayed on MSNBC because I just figured that was when I started watching it originally. The conversations weren't swayed in any way. I was like, oh, this is a good thing to watch. This is a good channel to be on, What the fuck was I going to say? I forgot now. There was something else that I was like, holy shit. Oh, that's right. During her campaign, she never focused on what she's done and what she's accomplished. She spent the entire time slamming Trump for being a felon and all his terrible things he's done in the world. It was all about pointing fingers at him for being an asshole instead of saying, "Hey, look what I've done since I've been in office."
I'll agree with you 1,000,000% there too. Yes,
which I think
that's all I heard.
Yeah, so I think that was a major flaw on her part because
huge.
You should have talked about, because there's been improvement, right? I mean, I'm not big into this shit, but there's been improvement in a sense. Like we've talked about it before, that the gas prices, the food prices, that stuff has nothing to do with the government. So stop fucking talking about it. Be smarter than that. We talked Tuesday about Kroger and the grocery stores making record profits, just like the oil companies making record profits, because we as consumers, what are we doing? Consuming.
Yes.
And there's this new thing. I forget what network it's on. I'll tell you. I'll figure it out later. It's kind of talking about how consumers have consumed so much, and we're making so much more now. We're consuming so much more, so there's so much more waste. So it's a documentary that I'm going to watch. That the trailer at the end of the trailer, it's a highway, and in some countries it's a highway like a freeway, and it's just mounds of garbage on the sides, just like tower. Like remember the movie WALL-E, the animated thing?
Yes.
Okay, it's like that. Like these.
If you watch that and you're convinced that we have a garbage problem, I'm gonna send you to another one that will convince you that we don't. So
okay. Well, no, I'm not saying we have a garbage problem. I'm just saying the amount.
I think we have a management where we're putting it problem more than anything.
I would agree with that.
I watched what I watched, and this was a John Stossel probably propaganda.
Oh, right on.
No, it was actually the reverse, where they keep telling you that we're running out of room, so that we got to raise the price of how much we're charging you, and that recycling is good.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it's the bullshit stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The recycling is the propaganda.
Gotcha. The propaganda of recycling. Makes sense, man. Totally makes sense. Mike Michaels, ladies and gentlemen. Nice job, man. Nice job.
The crowd goes wild. I would say that now that everything's done, I'm glad there wasn't a bunch of riots, the next day, and everybody was, seems to be semi-cohesive.
I have a large core of friends that are very distraught over the results. They're very sad.
That's the problem. So back in the day, I'm not saying this is right, because I think everybody should think for themselves.
Sure.
But if we're going to live under this set of rules, then we need to go back to, I still don't think he's a decent human being.
Agreed.
I think he's a horrible fucking person. I can't believe that that's who at this point we get stuck with, is somebody that is not a good example of a human being. That's just the bottom line. With that said, I want cheaper groceries. I want cheaper taxes. I want cheaper gas.
Right.
I want everything that everybody else wants. So
absolutely,
I hope he does what he says he's going to do. We've said 100 times, and we'll say 100 more. He's only got so much power, unless we're going to deem him dictator, which got to be real careful there.
Yeah.
We don't want that, right? So he can't do everything. So if he can do half of what he said he was going to do, things will get better. And we all have to hope for that. And now that he got elected, we're supposed to say, yeah, now this is our president, right?
Well, and that's my thing. So I understand why a core group of my friends are distraught, because I get that. And it kind of goes back to what you just said. It's like they're more or less looking at it like, what the fuck? So we have
team
this
lost.
Not even that. It's the felonies and all the things. When you Google Donald Trump, you know what I mean. All the negative things. Like it's a list. Like it's a laundry list of shit. Right. Whether it's right, wrong, whether he's guilty or not. They've tried to impeach him. He's convicted of 39 felonies and shit.
And I always tell people that I dig things down to the nub. Right.
Right.
The felonies that he has been convicted of.
Right.
Do not preclude him from being president. They're civil felonies. They're not criminal felonies, right? He didn't kill anyone. He didn't, murder,
right.
Whatever. It wasn't a.
Yeah, he's not Charles Manson.
It's like white collar felonies, right? It's a civil felony. It doesn't preclude him from being president of the United States. I researched all that too.
Yep.
So you can't say, you can say he's a felon, but you can't say that he shouldn't be president because of it, because that's not how it works. That's not what it says. It says if he killed someone or he was caught for espionage or some shit like that, then no, he can't be president. But
right. I agree with that. But I understand why they feel the way they do, because you had a guy with all these things, right? And the president is supposed to be somebody that's looked up to. It's held to a high standard. It's a role model. You know what I mean? I mean, it's no different to me. Clinton was banging Monica Lewinsky on the Oval Office desk, right? And he wasn't the first one, because Marilyn Monroe and JFK, they probably had her been over the top of that. Sorry, Mama K, I know you listen, but it's true.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you can't tell me. I don't think there's any president. And let me take that back. I would be surprised if there was a single president that didn't allow the power to go to their head to some extent, to where they took advantage of a female. I don't mean that
except
as
Jimmy Carter. I don't think Jimmy partook. I'm going to give him that.
I'll kind of agree with that. And
he's
with
as
Reagan.
Close to a Christian than my mother that I know walking the earth today.
Yeah,
so.
Okay, so I would agree with that and Reagan, because I think Reagan was so in love with Nancy, but it doesn't preclude them from stepping.
And he was too old to be doing that when he got there anyway. I mean,
Viagra wasn't out yet.
Yeah,
but they still, to get to where they were in life, they had to step on souls to get there. You're not getting to that level. I mean, you're the leader of the free world. It's kind of like an NFL quarterback. There's only 32 NFL quarterbacks in the NFL that are starting, right? It's an elite position to have. So I think that there's baggage in all their closets. There's skeletons in all their closets, whether it's diddling, the female persuasion, or diddling the male persuasion, because I'm sure there's been some presidents that get, or just whatever. But there's skeletons in everybody's closet, because you don't get to where you're at. And I think that's true with some senators too, and some, like Nancy Pelosi. Like, I'm surprised she's not on the Diddy party list, man. You know? I mean,
probably all of them. 88%.
Yeah, it's just that you're not a good human at all. For the most part, there's darkness behind you. Clintons, I mean, we can't talk about the Clintons, because then we won't be here tomorrow.
we want to bring you a show next week.
We can't do that.
No, I don't want to be on that list.
Have you seen all the shit on the Diddy stuff that's coming out, man?
Not really, since he got, all this stuff. The initial, I watched that, but I really haven't seen a lot since then. Do tell.
It's like there's a song that Bieber wrote that was about a Diddy party, and so I was watching a reel, and as Bieber were singing, the lyrics were popping up on the reel, and I don't remember, because I'm not a Bieber fan. But I was like, wow, he sang the song that was literally talking about the party and how he couldn't talk about the party. And then it's come out now that, granted, he was 18 years old, so there was nothing illegal about it. But Diddy had J-Lo, ride Bieber,
What a lucky young man.
So there's
is that not what?
No, I mean, he was 18, but he was 18, so he was an adult. So I don't understand. Right. I don't understand how that's a bad thing. There was some images, there's some security footage and stuff I've seen where he's in a bathroom stall, and him and Ellen DeGeneres are very close to one another. Bieber's all over this shit for whatever reason, because and it's kind of like.
How much damage could Ellen do to him? She's a lesbian.
Well, maybe not. Maybe she is, but maybe she has some
She
desires.
wants to be the man too sometimes.
Well, maybe she wants some sausage in her diet. I don't know. Again, sorry, Mama K.
Well, I mean, all these things happen. This is unfortunately
they do. You do.
The Midwest is different, you know. People kind of go at their own pace, but the coast, they go at their own pace too, which is really fast. And
yeah,
people do strange things, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But as long as he's over 18, who fucking cares?
Right. And there's some other weird things that are going on, like as soon as Diddy was arrested, and this is kind of goes off the conspiracy shit, but as soon as he was arrested and all that kind of shit got indictments got thrown down, there's celebrities like Megan Fox completely deleted their entire social media accounts, like just boom, gone. Leonardo DiCaprio picked up, gone, out of the country, hasn't been back since, has no relevance or no intention of coming back from what this thing was talking about. I don't know what DiCaprio's tie is with this. Corey Feldman,
he was at the parties too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. So Corey Feldman, remember Corey Feldman, right? Because we grew up the same time. So
the
Corys, right? So Corey Feldman has forever been preaching about pedophiles in Hollywood, and
he has.
And that
since
was
the '90s,
right? And that was a big part of why Corey Haim went to drugs and died so young.
All that shit's super sad now, knowing that. You know?
Because and Feldman, I mean, because he's fucking wacky. He's just, I don't.
Well, how could you not be? He's been
true.
And that goes back since he was a young boy.
Right, and that goes back to what we talked about. See, there's two paths you can take, right? Luckily, I had all the writing and the be able to purge all the shit with the acting and the music and the poetry and the songs and the music and shit that I didn't go down that dark path. Feldman's way dark, man. There's just I've watched interviews with him, and you can see over the years how his darkness just gets more and more and more, and his intellect and his mind. I don't know what the fuck, what kind of drugs he's done in his lifetime, but he's definitely. They have to do back. The thing I was watching, it went back years when he was still kind of come across as a normal human being, like he wasn't. His brain wasn't fried. He wasn't, the black. Dyed black hair and shit, but I think
about black helicopters following him around and shit.
Yeah. So I think that there's more relevance to his stories that nobody wanted to believe, which then goes back to I have a friend named Eddie who was my bass player in Disturbed, and he's big into he's a little office rocker. Otherwise he'd be fun to talk to here. He was
that
pissed
might be
off.
Fun. I like people who are a little off the rocker.
He was pissed off when Chester Bennington died because he said it wasn't a suicide. Same with Chris Cornell. He said they were both murdered and somebody else because they were on the verge of uncovering the child sex trafficking and human trafficking in Hollywood.
Listen, who the fuck knows? Maybe they did.
Right. Yeah, I know. But back then it was like, dude, you're fucking smoking. You're smoking too much, dude. Like, yeah, it's like, come on.
There's several times that I probably shouldn't say who it is, but there's several times where somebody who has no reason to lie has told me on multiple occasions the same kind of deal where, they would say this guy said the government's capable of watching everything you do through your computer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
15 years before they found out that the NSA was watching everybody,
Yeah, absolutely.
Those kind of, so yeah, I'll tell you who it is later, and you'd be like, oh yeah, shit, of course.
Well, it's kind of
he's
like,
full of stories like that.
Yeah, but I think Big Brother's been watching us longer than we want to realize. There was shit that I think Reagan did, or Bush did. I think Bush did it after 9/11. That kind of opened up what the government can do without permission.
Sure.
Like the cell phones, right? You have cell phones, location services, things like that. I was thinking about this last night. So if you want to like, say you want to alter your career and you want to be, like you clean up after John Wick's mess, right? Well, you can't have a cell phone because cell phone, you have location services, and every time you're driving around, as you drive through the city, your cell phone pings off the tower. So you'd have to leave your cell phone at home if you're one of those people in that industry and at your nightstand, so it never leaves your home. So then your alibi is, well, I was sleeping that night. Well, how do you know? You're going to prove that? Well, did my cell phone hit any towers?
Except the one by my house.
Right. It never moved, motherfucker. So, there's things like that my mind goes to, which is kind of weird, I guess.
No. it's what convinces you and I that even if we wanted to, if there was a 1/1,000,000th of a % chance that we could ever go down the road of being one of those sociopaths, we're like, it just would be way too much effort, you know.
And there's so much. That's why they're brilliant on a certain level, because of the amount of
no question.
preparation and the amount of preparation they have to partake in, especially now. Like, you haven't heard of any real serial killers, mass murderers in this day and age, the last 15, 20 years.
I bet if you Googled it, they've been out there. We're just so numb to all that. They say there's 3 to 5 active at any time.
Oh yeah, but you don't know about them. It's like, I had a friend that he worked at DPS. He's a DPS officer for decades. They called him the Duke because he was legendary. He's a baseball coach when I was younger. And some bank robber who had like 36 bank robberies got caught, and he's like, well, yeah, we don't tell you how many active bank robbers there are in the state, because if you did, you would want to go rob banks. You don't hear about it till we catch them. But 36 bank robbers, the guy got away with 35 of them, and then the 36th one, he left something, some type of evidence behind him, and they tracked him down. The other thing that I learned from him, when you commit a crime, the worst thing you can do is talk about it. Like, if you kill somebody, as long as there's no gun in your hand, you don't talk about it, your chances of getting away with it are pretty high.
Every time I watch an episode of Dateline or that 24-hour-a-day investigation Discovery, I'm constantly going, shut your fucking mouth.
Right.
You have never heard somebody say, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you can't make me say something if you wanted to quicker than I will, if ever presented with that opportunity.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Lawyer. Lawer.
Yep. Yeah. He told me that's the 2 things I took. I mean, there's other things I took away from
YER. Sorry. I fucked that up.
But yeah, don't, if you commit a crime, don't talk about it. Okay? Just don't talk about it. If you kill
shut
somebody,
up.
If you kill somebody, as long as the weapon's not in your hand, and don't talk about it. Do not go home and tell your spouse, hey, I killed Johnny today. She doesn't want to know. She doesn't want to know, because then that's somebody you told.
What evidence do you have? Nothing?
Exactly.
Lawyer.
Yeah. So
I'll talk to them.
Yeah. So take it from us, kids. If you want to get away with crime, don't talk about it. Okay, just don't talk about it. That's the best thing we can tell you. That wasn't what I wanted. That's what I wanted right there.
Well, that's how those people that never did it, that got convinced. You see those 10-hour interrogations.
Yeah.
Like, you better bring me a lot of water and something to pee in.
Yeah.
We're going to be here a while.
Right? That's the other thing, when you watch that shit, make sure you don't watch both sides of the story, because there was a Peterson thing on, a Scott Peterson, a Lacey Peterson. And I was watching one of them when it first came out, and I actually switched to the other one. I'm like, why is this the same shit? It's the same fucking shit, man. So don't watch them. Just pick one and watch it. Like, Menendez is back in the news.
Yeah, that new one that they supposedly I've made it through about 30 minutes of that, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, you haven't told me anything I don't already know.
Yeah, that's why. If you want to research this stuff, go back in time. Google the older shit, because the new shit, they're just new cameras and new angles of the people they're talking to, and it's there was there was Faces of Death when I was younger. I loved that show. There's something else.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck was that dude's name? A&E had an investigative reports, I think. That was pretty legit. That guy had his name was Bill. I wonder fuck what that was called.
Oh, Bill Curtis, American Justice.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Love that. That dude was fucking legit, man. He had he broke all the cool fucking.
And then at the same time, there was one called City Confidential that went into these murders in the little towns, and that was Paul Winfield that narrated that. He had such a great narration voice.
Right on. Yeah. That cool stuff for sure, man. So here's a funny little story since we're talking about killing people. I go to Home Depot because I went to the Spirit Halloween store, right? And I got.
Did you buy duct tape?
No, I didn't buy duct tape. I already have those.
Some rope.
That's actually in my book, though. The Legend of Charles Lee Lang. We go to a hardware store and we buy all the stuff because when you steal a body from a morgue, you have to somehow transport it. So anyway, so I'm going to the depot. I measured this stuff for the Halloween, right? It was like 2.5 to 3 feet. So I get to depot, and there's a wall, just a wall of all the fucking containers, right? Just like, all the sizes you can need. Kid comes up. There's a dude standing like 2 rows down, same aisle. And I was like, hey, man. I was like, how big is that one up there? And he looks up, and he's like, it's 50 inches. I was like, okay. Can any of those down here? He's like, oh, yeah. So he pulled it. So I pulled it out from the bottom row. I said, let me ask you a question, like in all seriousness. He's like, okay. I said, could I put a body in there? Shit you not. His answer, well, have you heard about the fact that if you cut off the head of a cactus and cut off the head of a person and put the cactus on the body, that after time, the cactus just absorbs the body and then there's no trace of it? And I'm like, so that's a yes then. And the dude,
we're going with yes.
And the dude that was a couple rows away now is like right up within our sphere. He's like, that's interesting. I'm like, it is, isn't it? I'm like, so I would have to cut the head off basically. And then there's lady, I see this lady in peripheral vision over here, and she kind of stopped her cart because it's all with the straight fucking face conversation, right? So all of a sudden, then I get 4 of those. I get 4 of these other ones. And I load them up on the push cart, and then I start going away, and the lady asked him a question. I said, "Thanks for your help with the body, man. I appreciate it." And he's
awesome,
all I could do not to
dude.
laugh. It's all he could do not to laugh, but he had that little fucking smirk on his face, like, "I got you."
That's awesome,
right? So it was, and legit though. When I got home, because I was talking to Jake today at the Marine Corps balls tonight, so he left Pendleton and is going to get his haircut and stuff and gearing up for the ball tonight.
Nice.
So I had told him the story of that. So when I got home, I filmed all the crates filled with the bodies and the dead cat skeletons, and then the 13 severed heads, the four bodies, the 2 bags of bones, all the tombstones and the ghosts and shit, and packaged that all up nice and tight, zip tied them, and took them out to the barn in the back of our property. And when I get done here, I'm going to go up to Ace and get a tarp and cover it up, and that's where they're stored for the year. But yeah,
should have given a shout out to the guy who helped you at Home Depot there.
I didn't catch his name because it was one of those things I wasn't expecting him.
That's an awesome story, by the way.
Right, I wasn't expecting him to engage in that conversation.
I love it when people do that too.
Right? Because so many fucking
you're
people
like, you're my people. I love you.
They're so wound up tight, man, and this dude's just like, absolutely, man. This is how you do it. I was like, right on, dude.
It was like called being human beings and having fun, and nobody's being serious about anything, but we just had a great fucking interaction. We don't even know each other. I love this.
It was like a stand-up and cheer moment. It's like, hey, man.
I've actually had people give me high fives, like more times than I can count after doing something like that.
Yeah,
it's like, thank you. You made my day, I said, fucking around. I got a PhD in that, I'm great.
Absolutely.
Not taking life too seriously. I'm your guy. Because unfortunately, it's not as long as people would like to believe. So you might as well have as much fun as you can. So I love stories like that. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, I do too. And that's, that's part of it. So I did this thing, right? And it was Tuesday. It was after it was before the show, right? No, Monday. I don't think I told you this though. So Monday I was at my office. I went on a walkabout, and I went to 12 different companies. Did I tell you this? Did we talk about this?
I think you told me before the show because we talked about your neighbors when the show started.
Yeah. So I went. It's the coolest thing. If you're bored, like, and you live in a big city, go fucking for a walk around your office, your house, and like I met the really cool owners of a bar and all just kind of stuff. It was pretty legit meeting people and understanding, who they are and how long they've been there and stuff like that. It's fun, man. It's fun getting to know people, and it's such a random thing. They're all like, here's a random guy coming up saying, "Hey, can I video your place of business because I wanna market you?" And they all could have said, "Fuck off," but they didn't. They were all really cool and welcoming, and it was neat, man. I dug it.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. A lot of it's your approach. It's how you walk in there, and you already have the gift to be able to command people's attention just because you exude positivity, wherever you go. And I try and do the same thing. And when I get mad that people are attracted to me, I remember that I'm not trying to be a threat to anyone, and people feel that,
Yeah.
I'm legitimately not. I'm 100% not looking for conflict from anybody for any reason. It's just, if you want to be cool and you want to have fun, I'm cool. If you want to have a conversation and you want to be serious, I can try and do that too for a while.
Right.
But, as soon as you get offended or angry or you're so opinionated or married to your idea, I got to check out, because it just gets super uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And I finally learned that, it's okay to say, hey, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm not your person.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that too. How do you explain that? The motivation, what's the motive, right? Because one of the places I went to is called the Breakfast Bitch. Kid you not, that's what it's called, Breakfast Bitch.
That's awesome.
8 to 2, they're packed every day. So I went, walked in, they were closed. It was like 2:50, and I was like, hey man, could I do this? And gave my card. He's like, let me go get my boss. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So she comes back and she's like, you're a realtor. I says, well, yeah, I'm a realtor. I said, this is what I do. I said, I blog and I write about
networking,
the high rises in this community. I said, down off, where the Japanese Friendship Garden is, right? She's like, oh yeah. I said, okay. Well, so my office is right behind that, and we're a commercial spot beneath Portland on the Park, which is a high rise community. She's like, oh, okay. And I said, so what I'm doing is I'm back tagging everything with Portland on the Park. So when people chime in on the Google machine looking for high-rise condo in downtown Phoenix and Portland on the Park comes up, then if they say, well, what's there to do around Portland on the Park? All my stuff's going to pop up. There's a barbershop. Here's a market. Here's a custom hat shop. Like they make hats. Like artists make these hats, and these people. Like it's not just like a hat. Like it's an artist created the hat. It's pretty cool. The Breakfast Bitch place, the Milk and Honey convenience store, which is, I had a really cool conversation with that dude. He's from Albania. We kind of talked a little bit about the state of the world because it was Tuesday, it's Monday, and the fact that people in America have no fucking clue how really good we have it. He came from Albania. He left.
That's what I would like people to really realize, is how fucking lucky you are to just have the right to be an asshole with an opinion, right?
Yep. He said flat out, like, his brother-in-law was born in a concentration camp.
Jesus.
Because his family, 3 a.m. in the morning, somebody knocked on their door. They opened it. They pulled them all out. They disappeared. Never be heard from again. And that was a random occurrence, but it happened all the time randomly. There was no rhyme or reason to whose door they knocked on.
Sure.
So he got out of there when he was 18. He landed in Michigan, ironically. Got married when he was 19. He's got three girls, 3 daughters. He was actually on the phone with one of them when I walked in the store, and I could tell it was a little girl, and he's like, covered the phone. I'm like, Mom, dude, talk to your daughter. I can wait, and he just kind of looked at me like, what the fuck? Right. But then I got to talking to him, right? And he got in the AC business and electrical. He learned a trade. He was doing that in Michigan. He started working for the universities and had the contract with them for the electrical and AC and stuff. And like a really like hustler, and he came here to find the American dream, and he found it, and he's just like the world today, and the people he sees coming to his store, and he turns and looks at his store, and he's like, this, you have all these choices in America, none of that exists where I came from. It's like people don't understand what they have here. I'm like, and I was like, well, I can't relate to that because I don't know. This is all I know.
Sure.
But I can be like, okay, I can value your point because you came from that. So, so he looks at the presidential races. Who gives a fuck? Because at the end of the day, it's America. We have rights that he never had, and so.
I stand by what I said earlier. I think that when it's said and done, no matter which way you voted,
Right.
If we're truly living by the creed, now we're all one again, and this is our president, right?
Yep.
But that's not how we're living right now.
No.
Now we're living, the Trump supporters got their fucking fist in the air, and, they're still spewing shit and rhetoric. If they're an extremist, you and I are not extremists. We're realists, right?
Right.
The other side is fucking crying in their beer, and all the reasons that you brought up that she lost, the reason I agree with you is because I heard the same points made too. And
gotcha.
they all, even the experts,
Yeah.
and I use that term super loosely,
Sure.
agree that, all the reasons that you said had a reason for her losing. But at the end of the day, we should just be back to that. I think we talked about it several podcasts ago where everybody had an American flag on their car after 9/11.
Yeah.
We should be like that right now.
Yeah.
Let's get our own shit together before it's too late, right? Because we're teetering on too late.
We are.
The
And
extremism on both sides is fucking out of bounds.
Yeah, and what to kind of counterpoint that, when Biden won 4 years ago, the Biden supporters didn't really exist, right? There was a little bit of hate spewed because it was such an 81 million to 81 million. It's like, really, and then all the shit that he did in the 4 years that was clusterfucks. It's nobody said anything. Like, where's your 81 million supporters? Because I think back then it was one of those things too. What's the lesser of two evils?
Well, however it happened, be it economics, just the natural order of things, him fucking things up because he's old and doesn't, know when to go to the bathroom even. All these things played a part in the current situation.
Sure.
So now I waited for this topic to come up because at that time there was so many people that just voted for him because they hated Trump. They did not like Biden.
Correct.
He actually got more votes for that reason than people that actually supported him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This time, the whole campaign was fractured, and it wasn't fractured in half. It was fractured with 10% of the run to go, right?
Yeah.
That's all she had, and she's not a strong enough public speaker.
No.
She doesn't have the facts down in her head. He can spew shit out. They've estimated he's told 40,000 lies. But the reason that people still buy into it is because we've talked about our own podcast. People's attention span is approximately 12 seconds.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a year, and I'm here to tell you, Chris knows I watch the analytics like a hawk.
Yeah.
I just do. It's the way my mind works. People's attention span, not just on our podcast. It's not just because people don't like us. It's just in general. When I look at other people's analytics, the American public and the world at large, because I guess YouTube covers the world at large, the attention span is about 12 seconds. So he can say whatever he wants, and people are on to the next thing 12 seconds later.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because the other thing that I learned watching the coverage of it is towards the end of it, the last couple weeks or so, there was the references to all Trump's negative side of Trump, right? All the bad things we've talked about over and over again here. People didn't care because it was. Yeah, I saw somebody had posted something, and I'm still.
It's the reverse. That's where I was going with it. It's the reverse. Now he got all the vote because the economy's so bad.
Yeah.
And we're sending all this money overseas,
which is stupid.
And once again, if he puts that all back in the pockets of the American public,
right,
that's great. It's up to him now. I hope he succeeds. I hope
agree.
He does what he said he was going to do. That's
and that was my approach to it the day after.
I don't want us to fail.
No, my approach to it the day after was, and I did this on one. I responded to one person that I know. I responded to their post, and it's like I'm looking at the positive. Like me too. In my mind, I'm hoping that he learned what not to do when he wasn't reelected, and then the 4 years he wasn't in office, watching what was done and how that clusterfucked things, and then looking back to see the clusterfucks that he caused. So to me, maybe it's a better approach this time because number one, he's not going to run for president again. So he truly has 4 solid years to just.
He has no reason to not be the best president
Right.
that ever lived in the history of the world.
So that's where I was going with that. For me, he's such a narcissist and has such a massive ego. I don't think he wants his legacy left as this fuck that was in office for 4 years and then got beat. I think he's and because you're always going to relate to him as bankruptcies and failed business, this and that. But in order to be successful, you got to fail 100 times. Anybody who's ever succeeded on that level will tell you that they fail more than they succeed, but they're successful because of that. Every failure is a stepping stone on the ladder to success. His
personality's so big, he got fucking elected president of the United States, despite himself.
Exactly.
He's huge.
He's
a fucking rock star. He just is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really don't think he expected to win the first time. I think that he just got thrown into it and nominated. He's like, well, what the fuck? Let's see what happens.
I'm thinking he was pretty shocked that this was as big a landslide victory as it was because everybody was saying. Here's one thing that I would like people to remember is when you hear polls, like Chris was watching MSNBC. So MSNBC is probably as close as you're going to get, and they were still skewed pretty bad. But like CNN always had everything just with her slightly ahead. And if you watch Fox for long enough, they always had him just either slightly behind but ahead of where CNN had him, or he was, slightly ahead of her. So it was always skewed in the way of the person that was watching it.
Sure.
Now, when they tell you these polls were taken by their independent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Paid for by Fox News and paid for by CNN.
Right.
And you have to be dumb enough to... How many people answer the fucking phone when it's a pollster and actually answer it?
I don't.
There you have it. So you're dealing with that personality when you see those polls. I just would like people to remember that because I don't do those polls either. Mm. I'm always like, you're watching a cross-section of America... Mm-hmm. Who actually answered the phone and wanted to talk about this just because they're that lonely.
Right.
Yeah, right?
I did when it came to Harris versus Trump, I did get a text asking if I would take a poll. And I did because I was like, why not? I'll take this. I didn't expect
we got one smart guy.
Yeah. I didn't expect to get inundated with requests, and after that one, every time I got one, delete report junk. But I did it because I thought, okay, why not? I'll go. I'll give my opinion on this one little thing.
Fair enough.
I do it every now and then. I'll give my opinion on something because why the fuck not?
I'm talking specifically political shit. I'll give my opinion when it comes to like saving me money or what do you think about our company or product? Fuck, that's not stupid to do that. I'm just saying how many people actually want to participate in political polls, and for you it was one time 4-year election cycle, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't think I've ever did one before. On this one I was like this would be cool to do. Just why not? What's it going to hurt? And it didn't hurt anything. It took 5 minutes, and there you go. I don't even remember the questions. That's how important it was. I don't remember the questions at all. But all I know is I answered the questions, and I was done with it. And then, and then fucking Carrie Lake yesterday sent a text out. Help support me to make sure every vote's counted. Like, Carrie, you lost, man. That's what I don't like. You fucking lost. You lost. There's no like, oh, maybe, no, you lost.
Lose with dignity.
Yeah, you're done. It's like Harris came out for her consolation speech, right? She talked for like 5 minutes, but if you clicked on the link, it's an hour and 30 minutes because they waited for her for an hour and fucking 25 minutes to come out and talk to people.
Hey, come on now. She's the Axl Rose of vice president.
Right.
They're out there.
And she left Tuesday night with her entire crowd of people in waiting for her. She just like, oh, we're just going to go to bed. 9 o'clock. They just decided to go to bed. Like, we're not going to do anything tonight. We're going to wait and see what happens tomorrow. It's like, go talk to your people, man. Just go talk. How hard would it have been for her to just go out there and say, hey, it's going to be a long night. It's been a long campaign. We're all fucking tired. We just want to go home, smoke a bowl, have some Oreos, watch TV. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds like a fantastic evening.
And she didn't do that. She just, she hid and she ran and she's like, I'm not going to talk. And then I did listen to part of her consolation speech, just to get both sides, because I was up long enough. I heard Trump's his victory speech, if you call it. Dana White was there. Dana White got on the microphone. from UFC.
Oh,
Dana White tried to fucking, be a promoter and fucking get people riled up, which was funny. So I listened to Trump's thing, which wasn't really anything, I listened to Harris's consolation speech. Very well written. Whoever wrote her speech was very well written. And that's the first time I think that I've seen her speak that she actually stayed on topic, because she wavers off that shit too, like Trump does. Like, here's what you're supposed to say. Read it.
But the difference is I'll give him, if you're a certain type of personality, he's easy to get sucked into.
Agreed.
For me, he's like fingernails on a chalkboard, and I can't take more than about 45 seconds. But there's people that, he had the bigger following for sure, and he has treated it like, people forget that when he started and got picked for, or however it went down, when The Apprentice came on TV, that fucker was in trouble, man. They were taking his name down off buildings because he was basically fucking bankrupt. That show brought him back to the American public, and whether you liked it, good, bad, or indifferent, it was a huge success. Huge.
Yeah.
To the point where Rogan said that they were paying good money for you to go do that show. So it was so successful that they were actually offering celebrities of his level, which was nothing at the time, good money to go do that show. So you can't say that his approach isn't unique, and if he continues with it, I think that's probably the breath of fresh air that people were looking for at this time, because we've had to listen to somebody who doesn't know where they're at for 4 years. That was just as annoying as listening to him for the 4 years prior, for me.
Right, and that's why my hope is that he learned, and looking back,
I hope so.
Sitting back and watching, because I don't remember. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a huge history buff, but I don't remember any president that had a 4-year gap and then got reelected. Do you?
They're out there, but I can't remember how many there was.
Yeah.
Google that real quick. How many presidents served non-consecutive terms? That's how you Google machine it.
It pops up like that. Okay, so Trump isn't the first. Let's see.
I knew there was another, maybe two.
Grover Cleveland set the president of non-consecutive presidential terms.
That's it.
That's it. Just
Jon Stewart said it on his show.
Oh, that's it though. Only one.
Oh, that's it? Just Grover Cleveland?
I think so.
Man, if I had a gun to my head, that would have been my guess.
Trump gets 2 turns, but not in a row. It happened before with Grover Cleveland. That's it. Just Grover
So he's
Cleveland.
the second.
Yeah.
Crazy.
His non-consecutive. Trump joins former Buffalo Mayor Grover Cleveland as second president to win non-consecutive terms. So that was it. Just those 2. That's it. America.
Hey, Google that story that I sent you real quick.
What story?
Because I just took a picture of it. The one about the monkeys escaping from the...
Oh, yeah.
When Rogan said the next chapter of America is going to be lit. That was just a screenshot from Facebook. I didn't actually click on the...
Monkeys escaping from South Carolina. 43 monkeys escaped South Carolina research facility 5 hours ago. What? This is 5 hours ago. That's what it said. Authorities in South Carolina Thursday warned residents to lock their doors and windows after more than 40 monkeys escaped from a research facility. As of Friday morning, the fugitive monkeys still had not been captured. The 43 primates broke loose from an Alpha Genesis facility in Beaufort County, prompting officials to set traps and use thermal imaging cameras in an effort to locate and capture the monkeys.
Chris. Sorry.
Beaufort
County, South Carolina, my friend.
Beaufort County. Yeah. In an update posted late Thursday, police said the primates had been spotted in wooded region near the facility and urged residents to steer clear of the animals.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Hey, you stopped again. It just popped up on my screen. No. I can hear you, but there's no red dot there. I don't know. Okay, we're going to stop this one here. Chris is off the air, so we're going to sign off. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.